Tonight on News 5 Live, $100 million spent and most of the financial records destroyed. The details of an audit at Bill revealed in today's House meeting. The Supreme Court gives bail to the 9 men nabbed after the drug plane landing. A view from the other side of the border. We'll share a Mexican healthcare worker's view on the free zone and COVID. And a family gratefully received the keys to their brand new home. Details of these stories and much more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, February 5th. I am Sabrina Daly. The House of Representatives met today in a regular session where several bills were tabled for a second reading. Before getting into those proposed pieces of legislation that include an amendment to the Finance and Audit Reform Act, there are new developments regarding Belize Infrastructure Limited. The special purpose vehicle established under the Barrow administration will wind down within the next 6 months. But that hasn't stopped the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing from launching an investigation into its operations. Minister of Infrastructure Development, Julius Espat, shared details of that investigation this morning during the House meeting. Minister Espat revealed that up to $100 million were spent under bill, which had direct access to the government's smart stream system.
Madam Speaker, bill was a vehicle used for the misappropriation of public monies without public scrutiny. Madam Speaker, what did we find? We found that over $100 million, because we have not been able to fully identify and certify all the expenses up to date. But as far as we have seen, $100 million has been spent through bill. 80% of the contracts awarded through bill were given to one specific contractor. That contractor, Madam Speaker, goes under the name of IE. Subsequent to renting the office, then all of a sudden, all the contracts, not only the contracts of construction, but the design or the design bill or just the construction or maybe a partnership was awarded to the same company which she came from without the necessary financial scrutiny that is needed. We found out that there is also access to smart stream that these two offices that are adjacent to each other have access to. Smart stream, in my opinion, and maybe the financial secretary can assist us a little bit more, is detailed, confidential, financial information that only the FOs should have access to, or certain financial officers. It should not be left where a contractor has access to it.
Minister Espat went on to reveal that all contracts issued by bill are paused while the investigation continues. According to Minister Espat, the investigation shockingly revealed that records of Bill's financials were purposely purged, as in destroyed, for the period before 2019 and 2020. Legally, all companies are required to keep a record of their financials for 6 years. So when Bill purged its previous records, as they claim they did not have the space in its offices, it immediately raised eyebrows. In fact, there is now the prospect of a criminal investigation, since the premature disposal of those documents may have constituted an offense.
We found out that the general manager made purchases, made decisions that could only be decisions that a board would give permission to do, or the Ministry of Finance would give permission to do. We have subsequently seen documentation of past board members that are not aware of major purchases being done by the general manager. But what was scary, and I would like the auditors, the GST, the Income Tax Department to be aware of, the Financial Intelligence Unit. We asked them for financials of this company. A letter was provided to us stating that they have financials for the year 2019 to 2020, but they saw it in their interest to purge, was the word used. My word would be destroy, but it's the same end result. They found it in their interest to purge and destroy all financials before 2019 because they said they didn't have space.
The Border Management Agency, which is tasked with overseeing operations at various frontier points, including the western and northern borders, is another hotbed of corruption. A recent investigation conducted by the Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations, which includes the Border Management Agency, has unearthed a series of improprieties where public finances were abused. According to Minister Anthony Mahler, whose portfolio includes border management, blank checks were being signed regularly and given to the general manager to cover various expenses. When the accountant flagged the practice, the agency's board of directors reportedly told him that it was not a matter of great concern.
I rise to give a report on some audits done on the Border Management Authority or Agency. Madam Speaker, the Border Management Agency currently manages 4 facilities: the northern border, the western border, Punta Gorda, and 1 in San Pedro. I have been advised that there should be 1 in Jalapé, but none was built. Madam Speaker, I have personally visited 3 of the 4 main facilities, and what I have seen, witnessed, and experienced is downright shameful and borders on criminal. Madam Speaker, like virtually every other government institution in our nation, the Border Management Agency was abused, misused, plundered, and left broken and bankrupt, both financially and institutionally, by the past administration. From discussions that I've had with my colleagues who are conducting similar exercises in their own ministries and departments, the destruction and pillaging of our institutions were widespread and became the MO of the past UDP administration. The first problem is that from my investigations, this fellow here, Shrek, some Shrek, maybe the guys in the West, was the general manager of the Border Management Authority, some UDP crony. You want to see? Mr. Shrek operated without any accountability and transparency. In fact, the former accountant would sign blank checks, and Mr. Shrek would go on spending sprees like the money was his. In fact, I'd ask your permission just to read a letter from the former accountant to Mr. Shrek. Through this medium, I would like to inform you that I recall that one of the Border Management Agency meetings, I brought up the scenario where open checks are issued to the general manager, and the board expressed that there is no great concern. The board is expressing that they have no great concern of blank checks going to Mr. Shrek. No great concern on their part, since you are the general manager. However, as accountant, I believe that for each month, all blank checks should be well reconciled sometime in the following month.
Pointing to one example of gross financial abuse, Minister Mahler said that a whopping $466,000 was paid for a faulty IT network at one of the agency's office. According to Mahler, all the IT expert needed to do was simply plug out and reconnect a cable to render the network functional.
I will now just share with the Belizean people and my colleagues in here some of how the monies were spent. Mr. Mike Gamis, $680,000. Mr. Sergio Nal, $642,000. Mr. Carlos Castro, $378,000. $200,000 which were spent on ACs. The AC almost burnt down the Western facility the other day. Mr. Juan Carlos Chulin, $466,000 for IT work. And I'll just share with you a report from the audit done from an IT expert. As a result, no one knows the originating points of the cables, with a couple of exceptions. Same applies for the network devices such as routers and switches. The routers and switches in the local network are not properly configured and are not documented. Hence, the team found 2 routers in the network located in 2 different buildings. Pretty much what the report is saying, all they did for IT work for $466,000 when Mr. Chulin was called was to plug out the system and plug it back in. That's all for $466,000.
Government's COVID cash transfer program commences next week as an initiative to financially assist roughly 25,000 families that are affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Its rollout complements existing programs such as the Ministry of Human Development's grocery bag. In explaining the purpose of the cash transfer, Prime Minister John Bersenio pointed out that the previous administration left the Unemployment Assistance Program completely dry.
As we speak, Madam Speaker, grocery bag supplies are rolling out. This week, grocery bags are being given out to thousands of needy Belizeans, and this will continue up to the end of March. The previous government, they bankrupted the Unemployment Assistance Program and left the debit card program completely bankrupt. Lots of poor people were conned before the election. Then get a debit card and tell you not vote for me. We got the money in the bank for you. Next week, Madam Speaker, next week we'll start to roll out the Belize COVID-19 cash transfer program. Leave it, learn, leave it. This program is being funded through the World Bank, and it will provide assistance for the next 6 months to about 21,000 households. 21,000 households. Madam Speaker, we are doing the best we can under the dire circumstances the UDP left this country.
Belize continues to push for its quota of vaccines through COVAX and other agencies. In an initial shipment of vaccines is scheduled to arrive in country by the end of the first quarter. According to Minister of Health and Wellness, Michelle Shabat, 20,000 vials of Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines will also be accepted from Russia.
Kindly allow me to update this Honorable House on the status of the COVID-19 vaccines. The COVAX facility has advised us of the intended delivery of 100,800 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine by the end of the first quarter of this year. This indicative distribution, Madam Speaker, is based on the estimated availability of vaccines from the manufacturers. On the 29th of January 2021, the European Medicines Agency, EMA, granted conditional marketing authorization for AstraZeneca vaccines to be used in European countries. The next awaited step is for the World Health Organization emergency use listing for the AstraZeneca vaccine. Apart from the COVAX facility, Madam Speaker, the CARICOM Secretariat has advised us of the opportunity to procure 81,697 doses of vaccines through the African Medical Supplies Platform. This is an opportunity offered to CARICOM member states, and we have expressed our interest to CARICOM through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Madam Speaker, as well, I am pleased to report that today, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have indicated to the Russian Federal Republic our acceptance of a donation of 20,000 doses of the Sputnik V vaccine.
And while the public anxiously awaits that access to vaccines, Belize passed another somber milestone on Thursday. There are over 12,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases. Today's report appears promising, with only 5 persons testing positive out of the 350 samples. However, there are 160 persons under investigation. No one lost their life to the disease today, and 16 new recoveries were reported. In total, there are 239 active cases of COVID-19 in Belize, and the overall positivity rate has reduced to 18.5%. Still to come, a ton of cocaine goes up in smoke.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "Do not take revenge, my friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge. I will repay,' says the Lord." Desmond Tutu once said before Nelson Mandela was arrested in 1962 that he was an angry, relatively young man. He founded the African National Congress military wing even. When he was released from prison, he surprised everyone because he was talking about reconciliation and forgiveness and not about revenge. After 27 years in prison, he did not spend the rest of his life seeking revenge, but chose to fight wrong with right and injustice with justice and hatred with love, and truly believed that the God who said, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay," would fulfill his promise. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Jody Picoult said, "When you begin a journey of revenge, start by digging 2 graves, one for your enemy and one for yourself." Mahatma Gandhi reminds us that the person who lives by the eye for the eye and a tooth for a tooth philosophy will only make the world blind. Revenge is like a rolling stone. When forced up a hill, it will only return upon him who rolled it there, inflicting even greater pain. Revenge only makes you dependent upon those who have harmed you, and to believe that your pain can only be released by the torment that your tormentors suffer. We must not allow evil to overcome us, but we must overcome evil with good and choose to forgive and trust him who said, "Vengeance is mine, and I will repay." Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
For more than 30 years, CAM2 has been a supplier of premium quality lubricants to distributors across the U.S. and abroad. With its roots in auto racing, the brand began as a joint venture by Sun Oil Company, General Motors, and Roger Penske to develop a superior performance motor oil that propelled Penske Racing to a victory in the Indy 500 race. Turning its success on the track into confidence on the road, premium CAM2 lubricants were developed and offered to consumers as do-it-yourself automotive products beginning in 1975. Beginning modestly with just a few items, the brand has grown tremendously. and now offers hundreds of automotive, industrial, commercial, and performance products to its customers across the U.S. and around the world. Superior quality, outstanding value, unmatched service.
At Cam 2, we're committed to you.
Available at your Cam 2 distributor in Belize. Enrique Martinez & Sons Limited, 2 miles, Philip Colson Highway, Belize City.
Abigail.
Yes, Gran?
Abigail, I can't breathe well.
Granny, we need to go to the hospital to get you checked out.
No! I'm fine.
Yes, Gran, we need to go now to get you treated. Now, before it's too late.
No, 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 no.
Grandma, we need to go for all of us.
No, no, no.
Stop. If you are having flu-like symptoms, please call us immediately for medical guidance. If you have chronic conditions such as diabetes and you're experiencing symptoms such as shortness of breath or chest pain, please also seek medical attention immediately. We lost a lot of people this year. We don't want to lose you too. Please seek help if necessary. Call us at 0800-664-2273. Continue to wear your mask at all times. Keep physical distance when in public and stay at home unless absolutely necessary. This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The 9 men nabbed following the drug plane landing on February 5th today received Supreme Court bail. The men were charged with possession of a controlled drug with the intent to supply after being found with 2 bales of cocaine. They were also charged for breach of curfew. Special Patrol Officer Tyrell Talbert, Police Constable of the K-9 Unit Byron Clare, Lance Corporal Steve Rowland, Dwight McFadden, PC Clare's father, and 4 others were detained on board a boat last Friday after a drug plane crash-landed in a remote area of Lamonal Village Police District. Today, the Supreme Court granted bail of $20,000 each. They cannot leave the country and have no contact with any of the witnesses. They must also not be arrested for any offenses. The 9 are to reappear in court on April 6th. And while those 9 accused were receiving bail elsewhere in the country, police were destroying almost a ton of cocaine from that very same drug plane. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
The sweltering heat emission from the burning pile could be felt from afar. This man-made pit was set up by the Belize Police Department for the destruction of 948.3 kilos or 2,090.6 pounds of cocaine. 67,900 grams were from 2 bales found in possession of 9 men, including 3 law enforcement officers last Friday.
Whenever drugs are found, you have scenes that crime goes on the scene and they gather the evidence, right? In addition to that, the drugs is photographed and everything, and that is taken before the court. And then you guys are here to witness that it is the drugs that is being destroyed, and the evidence of the scene that crime is taken before the court to convict these people.
Essentially, a report is made from
exactly.
all these
We have reports from all the different officers, and then that is tendered as evidence.
Now, we noticed that a representative from the court is also present to witness this event. Talk to us about that.
All right, so we have the magistrate, we have the chemist, who is the one sampling the drugs, then we have a justice of the peace, and we have a senior officer who witnessed the drugs destruction.
Police found 23 bales at the site of a plane crash in northern Belize district. 3 were discovered somewhere behind Cookidree Village. According to police, they found 2 bales on board a boat that responding officers intercepted in the wee hours of January 29th on Hillbank Lagoon. Operations Commander, Assistant Commissioner of Police Marco Vidal, explains the urgency for the destruction.
Where the drugs were found is very close to the border, where we have this major problem with drugs. And further to that, the earlier we can get the drugs, the harder for the drugs to be destroyed. It is destroyed. Everything is being followed by a process.
There's the necessity for swiftness and speed due to a security concern.
Yes, it is. Right, that is it. It's for security reasons.
The process was efficient. Sacks filled with tightly wrapped parcels of the white stuff are offloaded, individually photographed and counted. Seconds before each package is slit open and thrown into the burning pit, a chemist would randomly select 3 of the parcels and with a modified Scott's reagent confirm that its content is cocaine.
Prosecution applied to the court for the order to be given for it to be destroyed. So the drugs were moved from the security area in Belize City to this area, and it has now been sampled. The 26 bales, 26 bales plus the 28 bales are taken out, and then each parcel is taken out from the bag, and then the chemist is checking the drug, that it is drug, that it is cocaine, and it is blue if it is cocaine. So once that is done, then it is thrown in the fire where it is consumed.
ACP Marco Vidal says that while the department has made tremendous strides in the fight against this transnational crime, more has to be done.
It is a small portion of what is really out there, and our investigation, our intelligence will show these persons for what they are, and once that is done, they will be arrested and charged for the offenses that they commit.
Your take on the fact that, 3 law enforcement officers were found to be in the area, found in possession of these 2 bales, it flies in the face of their duties.
Yes, it does, and that's why the commissioner said that it is deplorable. It saddens the department. But we know that this exists. It exists in our security agencies. So our job is to gather the intelligence and get them in the act. Because anything other than that, they will say, well, it's just speculation, right?
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The Ministry of Home Affairs will introduce a new national crime-fighting strategy by mid-February. The Belize Police Department will implement the plan of action to tackle the scourge of violent crimes across the country. The strategy will also look closely at the issues of domestic abuse, since incidents of such offenses have gone up considerably during the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister of Home Affairs and New Growth Industries, Karim Musa, announced today during a Parliament meeting.
We can, with excitement, tell the nation that within the next 2 weeks, we will be launching our national crime fighting strategy. The backbone of this strategy is new, bold, modern, and fully uploaded to the new technological world. The game changer is in the modernization and humanization of the change tools. This will make a big difference as we are excited to design the launch of our innovation and technology platforms. We look forward to boosting our forensic capacity, our video surveillance coverage, including body cams for officers, ankle monitors, face recognition cameras, as well as our domestic violence strategies, which as of recent saw the opening of a child-friendly space in San Ignacio at the police station.
Shifting from crime to economic recovery. As we showed you on Monday, the Corzal Free Zone reopened for business after being closed for 10 months. Some 800 persons were employed under strict COVID-19 protocols. Minister of Agriculture, Abelardo Mai, who sits on the interministerial committee that plans and reviews COVID-19 protocols for the Corzal Free Zone, says that he has some small concerns. But he knows that the measures are working. There was mass testing of the employees over the weekend, and the result detected 4 COVID-positive persons.
So far, close to 1,000 persons that are being employed. so far. So if you would multiply 1,000 persons times 200 a week, that's a substantial, close to 800,000 or close to $1 million that will go in salaries, and these are jobs that people need. So I'm happy for those who have a job there. I'm a little concerned, as we are all Belizeans, about the health aspect, the COVID-19, but we are again putting all the measures in place to ensure that our workers there are not infected, and if they are infected, we can pick it up right away and deal with it. So far we are doing very well with that. We have all the measures in place, and I suspect that more people will start to work and business will open up. But again, we have to be very careful. We have to implement the measures. If we don't, we'll run into problems, and that is my fear. But I'm hopeful. We have an excellent CEO. We have an excellent staff in the free zone. I must tell you, I'm very pleased with what they are doing. They are working very hard along with the business people there. So if we do the right things, we're supposed to be fine. We're supposed to feel safer in the free zone and not here.
No reported infections coming out of Corozal free zone?
Coming out, no. Before we opened the free zone, we started testing on Sunday. We tested close to like 400 or 500 people. The majority was rapid tests, and we did a number of PCR. I understand today there were 4 people picked up positive with PCR, so they were not allowed to work in the free zone. Employees who were supposed to be employees, but we did the testing before they started to work. So we began with we know what the status was when they opened the free zone. So now
The infection was detected before they got
Yes, within Belize. They were detected before they got into the free zone. So, and one of them was a couple, I think. So that is easy. But it just shows that the system in place has picked it up, which is good, right? And so those have been asked not to go work. They have been in isolation.
One of the questions the press put to Minister Mai was about the businesses stayed at the Corozal Free Zone. He says the opening days were busy and anticipates that it will continue to progress as more vendors are certified to open their shops.
After the first 2 days was rushy. There were some delays, because the systems in place, And the first days, we always find some bugs. That has somewhat been ironed out, so the flow is faster. There was a queue of vehicles lined up all in the way to Mexico, but that has been addressed. So the businesses were, I think, trying to get because there was some stuff that had been there for a while, and they were trying to move it at a cheaper price so that people could buy it. I think they did succeed in doing that. So there's newer stuff going on the shelves now, and that is moving too. So you have to understand that there is now Chodamal is now considered a free zone area. So there are many things that can be taken into Chodamal duty free. So I think that has worked in our favor so far, as I understand it to be. But I think that it will continue to pick up.
When we come back, ministers' testy exchange prompts the speaker to rise from her chair. Meanwhile, PM proposes a safer House meeting.
So, it's just about that time to start planning again. Valentine's is almost here. What will you be doing for that special person in your life? Buy the gift of their dreams, dinner date, or even traveling to meet your loved one at your favorite destination? Whatever your plans are, visit your nearest Quickstop branch or apply online today at quickstoponline.com to help make your plans a reality with a quick and easy, no-hassle loan. Quickstop Personal Finance Center. No hassle loans.
Before the break, you heard the Minister of Enterprise speak about improving economic activity in the free zone. That business activity may slow down in the weeks to come. That's because the governor of Quintana Roo, Carlos Manuel Joaquin Gonzalez, announced this week that starting Monday, the state's status would be switching from light medium risk yellow to high risk level orange. The change in status triggers increased restrictions in business openings and movement limitations. We reached out to a healthcare worker in Oton P. Blanco, Chetumal, to explain the adjustment's significance.
Here in Mexico, for the COVID pandemic, we work with a traffic light system, which works green for the optimal case, and red is the most dangerous case a geographical zone can be. Right now, here in Chetumal, we are at yellow. What it means to be yellow? Yellow is before orange in our system, but yellow means that only the 30% of all establishments are working right now. But yesterday, our governor, Carlos Joaquin, he transitioned us starting the 8th of February to Valentine's Day, the 14th, from yellow to orange. So in a few days, we're going to be with more limitations. The traffic light system that we have in Mexico, it is directly dependent on one thing and one thing only: the current hospital vacancy that we have. Okay. The more occupied by COVID patients that current central hospital of a particular geographical zone is, the higher the meter goes. So right now here in Otompe Blanco is the municipality for Chetumal. We are at 15% occupation. You could say that it isn't very high, but also we don't have the sufficient infrastructure to attend, let's say, a big part of the population. So right now, what the governor wants, and I think it's adequate, it is what we all need to do, is to prevent.
Schools, restaurants, gyms, and malls will be closed, and other businesses will be limited to 30 or 50% capacity. The orange status also means movement restrictions for residents. Healthcare officials in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo have watched with concern the reopening of the Corzal commercial free zone. The Mexican authorities estimate that about 3,000 persons visited the zone on the day of the reopening. It is unclear at this time whether the state's shift to high-risk status starting Monday will affect travel to the zone. But the health officials across the border have plans to beef up their surveillance.
It is a very, very, very high risk for everyone, not just for you, for us and vice versa. Our Secretary of Health, Alejandra Aguirre, she was talking about implementing a health, not method, a health intervention for those people that are planning to go to the free zone or are entrepreneurs and have their business in there. Do you know there's a town which borders the free zone? It is called, I forgot the name, but it is a town that it is at the outskirts. They are going to install some public filters, and in case that any of them present any symptom, they're going to be in that town.
Mexico has recorded the third highest number of COVID-19 deaths. Just Wednesday, the country had 1,707 confirmed coronavirus deaths in one day. Last month, the new UK variant was detected in that country. We asked Dr. Aguilar who tests and treats COVID-19 patients in a public clinic in Chetumal, whether there have been any variants detected in state.
We haven't detected any. For me, that is safe to say. We have in Mexico, actually, in one state in particular, Guadalajara. That is in the central part of Mexico. Right now, we haven't made any detection, or the public authorities haven't made any communicate with the public.
On Thursday, it was reported that Mexico had run out of vaccines. The government recently granted authorization for the emergency use of the Russian vaccine Sputnik V. The first batch of vaccines that Mexico received was administered to healthcare workers who work directly with COVID patients. A dubious land transaction in Port Loyola that took place just before the November 11 general elections has deprived many residents of an opportunity to acquire properties from the government of Belize. Title for a tract of land equivalent to 8 house lots was reportedly transferred into the possession of a well-known political operative in that constituency. According to Area Representative Gilroy Usher Sr., indications are that it was a scheme concocted under the previous administration.
Government had a piece of land in Port Loyola, run by the former Area Representative office right from the government paid to get the parcel survey, and government full it, right? But instead of giving it out to the residents of Port Loyola, what the person did was that what the most influential person in the division did, then let me put it that way, what the most influential person in the division did was that he used a front. No, he used a person's name fraudulently from the outset. He used a person's name fraudulently and applied for the land on July the 2nd, 2020. The same day he applied for the land, July 2nd, the same day he applied to purchase the land. And everything was done rapidly. He applied July the 2nd, applied for purchase July 2nd, he approved for $1,000 rapidito. And then the following day, the $1,000 was paid. The $1,000 was paid for the land to the government, which is equivalent to, I said, about eight house lots.
Okay.
And then after that, now, like 4 days later, on the 6th of July, they applied for the title for the land, certificate of title. But by this time, remember, the election was coming along, and there were a lot of fraudulent things that were happening in the lands department.
Adjusting to the inconveniences brought about by the pandemic means that House meetings will be held virtually very soon. This morning, the Prime Minister tabled a motion in the House of Representatives for meetings to be held via Zoom or another virtual platform. It's the direction that board meetings have been forced to take in the wake of the pandemic, and Cabinet recently decided to adopt that platform for the foreseeable future. The decision comes despite the retrofitting of the Assembly building.
This motion has the recommendation of the Cabinet. Madam Speaker, just please allow me a few words just to quickly explain what we are attempting to do here. On the first part of the amendment, as you rightly pointed out, because of COVID, it is very difficult to be able to have house meetings here in the House, because we're in a small, cramped quarters. And many people ask, well, why don't you just meet virtually, use Zoom or Teams or whatever it is that you want to use? And we have to explain to them that the standing orders never envisioned for a day that you can host meetings virtually. This is something that's not new to Belize. It's been doing in some of the other countries, especially like in the Caribbean. And so basically we're not inventing the wheel. Basically we're just moving with the times and give you, Madam Speaker, and your staff the proper tools to decide how best we can hold house meetings and also I went with the Senate safely and to protect each and every one of us instead of having all these glass or plexiglass around us and keeping our masks and doing everything possible to try to protect one another.
There was a testy exchange in the House this morning where Cayo South Area Representative Julius Espat got into a tiff with Mesopotamia Area Rep Shine Barrow. The heated back and forth led to the House Speaker getting to her feet to bring the exchange under control. It's a rare occasion when the Speaker has to stand to maintain order in the House, but shouting across the aisle has become par for the course so far in this Parliament.
How dare you stand in this House with such level of arrogance? How dare you, when you are your uncle's nephew, the same uncle that was the past Minister of Housing, the same uncle that left this ministry with absolutely no assets, the same uncle that had no programs in place in the Ministry of Housing, the same uncle that spent over $40 million in 13 years with nothing to show for it, the same uncle that has immense amount of ghost workers being paid with no work being done. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you when you are
asking me a question? Madam Speaker is asking me a question. Are you're giving them very much leeway?
Madam Speaker, I am not yielding to this arrogant
Member from Mesopotamia, what's your point of order?
Point of order is to be able to elucidate. He asked me a question. How dare I? How dare I ask the question?
He has to yield. The rules are that the member has to yield in order for you to elucidate. He has not.
And I have
Please.
not.
And I will hope that when you allow me to elucidate, you give me the leniency that you're giving them to give
Member from Mesopotamia. This will not be a repeat of the last House meeting, members.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, point of order.
What's your point of order?
My point of order is Standing Order 38-4, Madam Speaker. The member, in answering the question, Madam Speaker, has insulted my colleague numerous times, including telling him that he has a height of arrogance, a level of arrogance, including comparing him to a former minister who he claims is a thief. And
when there's a point of order,
whether or not
one second, member, please. There's a point of order, so you must sit, Minister.
After the break, a touching handover of a brand new home.
Start your year with a win with Bellikin and its new promotion, Papa Stopper. Yes, sir. Every time you pop one stopper off our Bellikin, make sure you check under the crown. If you see one bottle shape, you win one free Bellikin. If you see one ball, you win $20. If you see one star, you win $100. And once you see one diamond, you win $1,000. Sure, Bellikin again, you know. Papa Stopper. When you pop a stopper off a Bellikin, check to see if you're a winner. You can collect your free beer or $20 cash prize at the store nearest to you. If you win $100 or $1,000, redeem your prize at the nearest B&B sales center.
Promotion is valid until Saturday, March 27th or while supplies last.
Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
Love is a connection that should last forever. This February, NextGen is sharing the love with amazing promo deals for everyone. Reconnect or install with NextGen for free. sign up for our affordable cable and high-speed internet plans and get 1 month free on your acquired service. But that's not all. New and reconnecting customers can now receive 1 month free MyTV subscription when you sign up with us anytime in February. Some restrictions apply. For more information on our promotions and services, contact us at 0800-222-5388 or via our social media platforms. Next Gen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Why, Tony?
Why, kid, what you going on, man?
We actually can see we can need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups from the grocery shop because they run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just ran out of the last batch, must have been like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have that thing? What you going on?
Check this, right? Under the new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that the cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
$424 families and counting. That's how many houses have been gifted through the Hand in Hand Ministries Building for Change program, improving each family's quality of life. The neediest of the needy goes through a screening process with the humanitarian organization. Then, with the support from corporate citizens, 2-bedroom wooden houses are built within days and the keys handed over to the new homeowners. Today, the Belize Bank Limited gifted a single mother from Ladyville a brand new home. It was an emotional handing over, and News 5's Dwayne Moody was there.
Big thanks for everybody, whether my side right now. And if my husband is right here right now, I will happy with it right now. No, he's not here with me.
It was an emotional handing over today at Partridge Street in Vista Del Mar, Ladyville, when a single mother of one who recently lost her husband in a freak accident was handed the keys to a brand new house. It was Darlene and her family's dream to own their own space, and while their little family is physically incomplete, she was super grateful that a long-time wish has come true.
I looked for this place long time to say that people will build a house. But my friend said, darling, go next lane. I said, no, that lane is so. We got again. We got to burn going with, we find this spot, we build a house. So I said, no, where we don't know. I tell this Rafina Roof, where we don't know a new house because what happened, the hurricanes knocked my house down. Okay. Like a big hole in the house. I feel bad because after my mama Lalia too. I'm glad that I have my own house back.
It's the 424th house that has been constructed through the Building for Change program of the Hand in Hand Ministries. It's a gratifying venture, says Rashida Betran, because the quality of life of that many families have been improved.
It's always a most heartwarming process, when we have the ability to give back and give a family a home, bless them with a home. It's life-changing for our partners, and it's also life-changing for me.
Valued at $18,000, the 2-bedroom wooden house, inspired by Polonia's design, was built with financial support from the Belize Bank Limited. This is also the 10th year that the bank has partnered with Hand in Hand, but due to the pandemic, its staff could not participate in the construction of the home.
We strongly believe in giving back to the community which we serve. When the coordinator reached out to us this year, during the pandemic, we have been getting a lot of requests, but we just couldn't turn this one down. This is the 10th year that we've been partnering with Hand in Hand Ministries for their Building for Change program. Normally they would send us a list. This year we did get that list, and as you would imagine, a lot of people were in need, but Miss Darlene's case really stood out to us. She and her son Anthony, they were really in dire need of a home, Hence, we went forward with the plan to support them.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Last week, we told you about the troubling issue of gender-based violence, with a look at how women and girls are mostly affected. In the second part of our story, we look at some of the measures in place to help those who are affected by this violence. While a lot more has to be done to address the cultural attitudes towards domestic abuse, there is also a need for legislative reform and additional support for survivors. In this story, we'll tell you about some of the shortcomings and what local agencies are doing to tackle this issue.
You never clean the house. Look at the house, it's a mess. Anna! Shut the hell up, Brisa. What the are you trying to do for me?
Globally, 1 in 3 women will experience some form of violence, sexual or domestic abuse. And abuse doesn't discriminate. It reaches women of all ages and different backgrounds. Kalila Martin Williams knows this all too well. She's a social worker who was attacked by her partner last October. She is yet to get justice.
The night in question that it happened, he actually knocked me out in my house. He cut my face open, as you can see. I'm left with a scar. He cut my face open and I ended up with 10 stitches in my face. After leaving the station and everything, the police officers told him that I could not make a report because it would have been my word against his. I mean, we're the only 2 people in the house, so who else would have been the one to cut open my face? And like I said, they let him go and now they cannot find him. One of the officers the night in question, he made a comment that I was not happy with when he said, oh, no worry about it because tomorrow they want to eat again. He said, Mom, he said, I'll be honest with you. He said, it's best that you try, get your whole story together and everything because I don't see this to go to court because you can't prove that he knocked you. Wow. So I felt extremely judged, especially by the police.
The partners in the fight against domestic violence are still working to address the attitudes towards this serious issue. For this reason, the Youth Enhancement Services has been training public officers in the fight against gender-based violence. Just last year, they trained 30 cops because they're critical frontliners. But one area that has proven difficult is to bring charges against the perpetrators because victims often decide to drop the charges. The YES is taking a bold approach. They want to explore a constitutional change so that even when there isn't a complainant, the matter can still be taken before the courts.
So what we are doing, as I said earlier, is to look at the Constitution. How is it that when violence is being perpetrated towards a woman and that woman decides, you know what happened, I will drop the charges, that the state can still press charges against that individual so that he can be locked up for some reason, not given bail perhaps, just so that she knows that she's safe.
The 2018 statistics show that several factors were involved in the 2,061 reported cases of abuse. The report says that 673 incidents had circumstances of misunderstanding. 409 were related to alcohol, while 348 listed jealousy as a surrounding circumstance. When looking at the age ranges affected in 2018, 73% of the reports came from persons 25 and older, while 25% of the reports came from persons younger than 24 years old. But no matter the reasons and ages targeted, it's a violation of human rights that has significant social impacts.
It is a high cost because if that woman is employed, for example, she loses days at work. So there's less productivity from her and from her bringing home what I would call the bacon or the money to help the family. At times that woman cannot come out to access help for health care because that man is always there watching her and she cannot leave the home. So if she has broken bones or a bruised eye and needs medication and all of that, it also impacts on her health, her mental health, and her physical health. The children seeing that are also impacted as well. Some of them become very aggressive in school. Some actually withdraw Domestic violence impacts the family, it impacts the community and the economic.
But there are options for those who are being abused. If you or someone you know is experiencing gender-based violence, you can call the hotline at 0800 A Way Out to make a report directly to the Domestic Violence Unit. The resources available to support women and girls affected by domestic violence are important in helping survivors to rebuild. Haven House, which is a shelter for battered women, provides safe temporary housing.
Some of our in-house activities we do is skills training. We have baking, cooking, cake decorating, sewing. These are services that our house mothers do. Every case is unique, and we do see persons go back, but what we do, we always ensure that before they leave, we do a safety plan with them, knowing that it is okay if they choose to go back, but know that they could come out again and access services. We will be there for help.
There are many moving parts to address this pressing issue, but as cases of abuse increase, one has to wonder, can Belize curb this growing problem?
I do think we can to bring down the numbers, but definitely it will take quite a lot, not only from government, because the expectation is it must be done by government. Behavior change is one of the areas that is most difficult because it requires people to be open, to be honest, and be able to change the way that they see and view things. And so it definitely requires quite a lot of sensitization. It requires a lot of awareness. It also requires change in legislation to ensure that those who perpetrate this type of violence actually are receiving consequences for their actions. We need to hold them accountable legislatively as well, and so there's need for that as well. It needs to ensure that we work not only with those who are receiving the victims and survivors of violence, but working with the perpetrators as well, working with children in schools, working with parents. So it has to be a multi-level, multi-sectoral approach and response to the issue.
Reporting for News 5, I am Andrea Polanco.
Not a football fan? When we come back, we'll give you one good reason to tune in to this weekend's Super Bowl.
In response to COVID-19, the government of Belize has implemented strict guidelines on persons to practice social distancing to reduce the spread and risk of getting COVID-19. Practicing social distancing is when one maintains a greater than usual distance away from another person. In public health, it is a practice to prevent sick persons from coming in close contact with healthy people. Recent studies are showing that social distance of 3 feet or more decreases the exposure of COVID-19. Before these restrictions, a person with COVID-19 could infect 2.5 persons in 5 days, 406 persons in 30 days. When you put into practice measures to reduce the exposure activities by half of that one infected person, in 5 days you would possibly only infect 1.25, 30 days, 15 persons. Reduce the exposure of that infected person by 75%, in 5 days you infect 0.625, in 30 days, 2.5 persons. Remember, the virus does not move on its own, people move it. The more space between you and others, the harder it is for the virus to spread. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
In partnership with the British High Commission.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
From the culture capital to the Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, for one of the world's biggest sporting events. This year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the qualifying teams in this year's Super Bowl 55, features the Belizean Beast. He is Rakim Nunez Roches, born in Dangriga. Roches is now a defensive tackle for the Buccaneers and plays alongside famed quarterback Tom Brady. Whether you are a fan of the sport or just watch for the entertainment in the halftime show, this Super Bowl Sunday, there's a lot more to look forward to as one of our own takes the field. Roches' grandmother spoke to Wave 3 News in Louisville, Kentucky about the family's excitement.
So excited. I'm a happy grandmother.
Mrs. Eleanor Guerrero is a very proud and excited Hardin County grandmother.
I'm a mother of 5, and the 5 children are my pride and joy. And from those 5 children, I got 13 grandchildren.
The entire family will gather together for Super Bowl 55 in Tampa, Florida to support one of those 13 grandchildren, Rakim Nunez Roches, the Belizean Beast, number 56, defensive lineman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Belizean Beast, since he was born in Belize, and he came up to the States when he was 7 months old.
The family found their way to Hardin County, where Rakim found his love of sports.
Ever since he was 5 years old, I remember his mom and I taking him to the football field. They did not believe he was 5 years old. So his mother had to go back home and get his birth paper so they can see that he was 5 years old.
He played youth football and other sports for the Hardin County Broncos, and he played football his freshman year of high school at Hardin County before moving to Phoenix City, Alabama, later heading to University of Southern Mississippi.
I asked the good Lord to be on the field with him, to cover him. Don't let him get hurt.
Now 27 years old, standing at 6 foot 2 inches and 307 pounds, there are also probably players on the field also praying that he doesn't hurt them.
I have gotten so many calls. Even from Belize, I'm getting calls.
If you ask Mrs. Eleanor what she knows about football, she's telling you
nothing.
But she will tell you the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win, and she knows exactly what she will do when they do.
Let me show you. Let me show you.
Oh, please show me the dance.
Meanwhile, on the home front, organizers says it will be one of the biggest multi-sporting events ever to be held in Belize. It is being organized to coincide with the country's 40th anniversary of independence. The Independence Games Belize 2021 is being planned to attract athletes from 13 sporting disciplines in games held at 8 venues in Belize City within 2 days. Leading the organizing committee is founder of Rugby Belize, Tony Gillings. Today at the Marion Jones Sporting Complex, the inaugural meeting and launch of the Independence Games Belize 2021 was held.
This is an opportunity for people to find out about sports and to engage with the youth and get them involved in it.
Okay, amidst the pandemic, how do you plan to make this a reality?
Okay, well, everybody asked me the same question. We can't do sports because of the pandemic, but that's not going to last forever, right? The pandemic, we have to treat the pandemic eventually like we do the flu. It's going to come around probably every year. It's going to be with us forever. Just because we have a pandemic doesn't stop you planning things, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're planning today for September, because I think that by the end of August, we should be getting back to somewhere near normal, I hope. If it's not the case, then we postpone it.
The International Games Belize 2021 will be held under the theme Celebrating Belize, Celebrating Sports, Celebrating Youth. 10 farmers from Mayan communities in Toledo went on an organic farming tour in the Mountain Pine Ridge today. Many of the farmers are in the livestock business, but also practice small-scale farming. For the past 10 years, these farmers have been working with Yashe Conservation Trust to find more sustainable means of farming, reducing traditional methods such as slash and burn and use of chemical pesticides. To introduce new ideas and practices to the farmers, They visited the Blancanu Lodge's 4-acre organic garden. Our news team just got back into the city, so we'll have the full story in Monday's newscast. But here's a snippet from the day's activities.
Yaksha has been promoting smart agricultural practices among 10 communities in the Toledo district. So what we have here today is 10 farmers from different communities that came to see first-hand experience in terms of the organic farming that Blancanu Lodge is actually doing. Most of the farmers that we have here are cattle ranchers. They are into cattle farming. Some of them are beekeepers, but some of them also have small farms that they plant corn, beans. So what we're basically promoting here is a different way of doing farming. Most of the farmers, the traditional practices that they utilize is more of the slash and burn. But what we're basically want to demonstrate here is that there is a different way of doing farming. So Blancanu Lodge is a perfect example because they're doing gardening, organic gardening. They're actually producing a lot of vegetables just in their backyard. They're using a lot of compost products, regenerating soil, and they have different techniques that the farmers can benefit from.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.